Hello, Xavier here, and today we'll be looking at the legendary Pokemon of my fakemon region, the Constella region. As you can see, I do have a new model that I drew. This one I mainly use for my Twitch and YouTube, but I will be getting around to making a human version of it in the future. Before we start, make sure to check out the lore video I posted about the legendary Pokemon, and make sure to also hit that subscribe button and the like button, as it does help my YouTube channel grow so others can see it. Now, for the first legendary Pokemon, I wanted to base it off of a comet, as well as a deity. But before I drew the final design, the first legendary went through two different design changes. For the first design, I wanted to relay that it was a deity and made her look like a humanoid female. I was going to make her an ice-type Pokemon, and so I wanted to add some sort of ice imagery on her design. And the region being based on Greece, I also wanted to give her a dress that resembled that in some form of way. This was all I really had in mind at the time when making the design. I was also trying out different color options that would go good with the design. This problem is later fixed in the final design. I do want to mention that I made this first design about a year ago, way before I even started the lore and story of the Constella region. Since this was a drawing I made a year ago, you'll be able to see the difference in my art style as well as my art in general following the next few drawings. As you can see, the idea was simple and basic, again since I had no idea what the lore was to be, since I just wanted to make a comet-like deity for the first legendary. For the second design, I kept the general idea of her being a deity and based on a comet the same, but I added the fact that this Pokemon was coming from a different planet, and so I wanted to make sure she looked humanoid, but I also wanted her to have magical and alien-like properties. I kept some of the design choices that I liked about the first design, one being the twin tails-like hair that represented comets having two or more tails. Most of the design at the end came out to be more magical girl than I wanted originally, but I knew that this would lead me to a different design. The things I loved the most about the new design was the fact that I changed the pose as well as gave her a more unique dress that matched the theme of stars and magical power. I also loved the ribbons I gave her, and the crystals under her eyes gave some attention to her pretty plain face in the first design. Having gone through those designs, I picked everything I liked about both and started making my third and what is now the final design. I made sure that the body looked humanoid but also alien-like, and that she had a nice pose that made her feel magical. I had tons of fun adding the fin-like ears on her as well as the tail to make her less humanoid and made her feel more alien to me. The tail design I actually designed after the Hercules knot, which represents undying love and commitment. Not only that, but this is also apparently one of the strongest knots to make, and so it can also represent strength. I added jade orbs to her design to make her look like she is wearing a necklace of jades. Jades are said to also be the stone of the heart. The final design is now as you see. I love this design and I think it's one of my best ones yet. Another thing that I did leave out was that design on her feet are supposed to look like ancient Greek sandals. It's a very small detail, but I wanted to mention it since back then the Greek wore the sandals to emphasize beauty, elegance, and refinement. And also, I made sure to only use cool colors for her design as she's based on a comet. For her shiny, all I did was turn the cool colors into warm colors so that the legendary Pokemon could reflect each other's color-wise as well. Now, before we move on to the second legendary, make sure to hit that like button. As I said before, it does help a lot, and make sure to hit the subscribe button as well. Now for the second legendary, the only things I had in mind was a dragon based on a black hole, which is a big difference to the final design. Just like with the first design of the Comet Legendary, the first design of this legendary was also made a year ago. In this design, all I had in mind was making a cool serpentine black dragon that was based on a black hole, and that's pretty much it. As you can see, the design is pretty simple and lackluster, but again, this was due to me not having a story and lore done before I started making these legendary Pokemon a year ago. This legendary was also the one that took me the longest to make a final design of. Making the second design was a long process, but this was when I changed it into a meteor dragon instead of a black hole dragon. I still wanted to keep the serpentine design, but I also decided to base it off of the Phi symbol and worry seeds. Phi in most cases is a mathematical constant, but another common name for it is the golden ratio. The golden ratio can be seen in many things such as galaxies and buildings today, but it symbolizes ideal harmony. Words used in Greek culture include many things, but the things that I wanted the dragon to represent was relaxation and as a form of amulet to guard yourself from bad luck. As you can see for the second design, all of that has been added, but I felt like it was missing a few creative inputs on my part, and so I decided it needed another redesign. For the third design, I kept all of the past things the same, except I wanted to base it off of a Chinese dragon. This is also the first time I added the Hercules knot into its design. As you can see, I wanted it to have orbs on its design as well as a sleek body to make it less menacing, since I wanted this Pokemon to represent kindness and a caring nature. I never got to finish this design, and that's because I just really didn't feel this design was worth continuing on. But finally, with all my errors and likes about the last 3 designs in mind, I had a clear thought in my head of what I wanted to draw next. Straight off the bat, I had the pose in mind. I also decided to have the Hercules knot wrapped on its neck instead of it being its tail for this design. I also decided to give it wings, even though I did want it to be more serpentine-like. The wings added more weight to its very empty design. I kept the sleek serpentine body though, since I did want to make sure it wasn't too intimidating. As you can see in the final design, I put the orbs on its body since I still wanted to keep some of that worry bead symbolism on it, and I even added the phi symbol on the neck orb as well. The horns and fin-like skin on its face is actually the same design for the ears that I gave the first legendary Pokemon, as I wanted them to have more in common than just the Hercules knot. As for the colors, in parallel to the first legendary using cool colors, for this legendary I used only warm colors. As for the shiny, I gave it the same treatment as the first legendary and made it shiny using only cool colors. Now, before I reveal the Dex entries, I do want to mention that I have added something new that we'll see more in the Constella region, and that is a new type. This new type is known as the Astral type. The reason I added this new type was so I didn't have to slap Psychic or Fairy type on every space-themed fakemon in the region that I make based on celestial themes. I also wanted to have a new common trio similar to how we have the common type circle being Fire, Water, and Grass. As for the other trio typings, they will be the Fairy, Dragon, and Astral. The Astral type will work like this as shown here, but if you'd like to take a closer look at the chart, make sure to either pause or go check it out on my Discord server. Here are the Dex entries. Cotharifia, the Celestial Comet Pokemon. An extraterrestrial being that came from a different planet. She is said to embody beauty, gracefulness, and fortitude. She was said to have a playful and happy aura when she was around people and Pokemon alike. It is said that she enjoyed playing with the young. Some believe she still oversees the region in a different form. Medratonami, the Celestial Meteor Pokemon. An extraterrestrial being that came from a different planet. He is said to embody careness, gracefulness, and strength. He was said to have a strong calming aura that relaxed and relieved stress when he was in presence. His gaze was said to warm the heart. Some believe that he still oversees the region in a different form. Now, let me talk about their abilities. Comet Surge sets up a new terrain called Comet Terrain that works just like gravity, but it also buffs any ice type moves as well as any moves that say Comet on them. Meteor Surge sets up a new terrain called Meteor Terrain that works just like gravity, but it also buffs any fire type moves as well as any moves that say Meteor on them. These terrains last for 5 turns. And there we have it. These are the legendary Pokemon of the Constella region. A lot of work went into making these designs from countless research and redesigns as you guys saw, so I'm really happy that I'm finally able to show you guys these Pokemon since the legendary Pokemon of any game are very important to the story. Let me know which of the 2 is your favorite and also let me know your thoughts on them. Don't forget to hit the like button as well as the subscribe button as it does help a lot. Make sure to also check out my Discord and join the EV squad. I look forward to your thoughts and to making more Fakemon for the region as well. Ciao!